This is Wild on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast. Did you guys see this? This is unbelievable. What is that all about, Kinger?
Get in here for the real thing. Like, let's get weird.
Maybe I blacked out trying to figure out what was going on.
Doubt, worry, fear, because that's what we're breaking the mold on here.
Welcome to Wild on 7th, presented by Pilot Games. We're here until it's here.
Welcome back to Wild on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast, presented by our friends at Pilot Games. Again, make sure when you're out enjoying curling, figure skating, ice dancing, short track speed skating, which I'm all there for, speed skating in general, men's, women's hockey, downhill skiing, ski jump. What am I missing anything? Handful of things. Nordic cross country skiing. Biathlon. That's actually what's cool about the Olympics, too, is you end up watching things that like you ordinarily wouldn't consume.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I was watching the social from the Wild, and like every player wanted to do the biathlon. So cross-country skiing and shooting is like a huge crossover sport for NHL players, apparently.
So when you're watching those things and you're out and about, grab a tablet from Pilot Games. Make sure you play their stuff, because when you do, not only can you win some money, your community wins money. And heck, some of these athletes playing in the Olympics come from our local communities. So in some ways, you're helping these athletes achieve their goals.
You're lighting their Olympic torch.
Yeah.
That's good.
Has there ever been a torch lighting better than 1992?
Which one was that? Muhammad Ali kind of shaking? Was that?
No, that was good.
Is that the one where they shot it with the arrow?
Yeah.
Awesome. So good.
I know.
So good.
The Robin Hood.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. Muhammad Ali was pretty good too. Remember, he was just he had the Parkinson's going, and that was pretty awesome.
Hey, I watched the opening ceremonies because that is a made-for-TV product, the opening ceremonies. And they kept saying that Italy is the most geographically diverse, I believe is the way they were putting it, Olympic setup in Olympic history.
Yeah, a lot of distance between the...
Meaning that there's a lot of different spots.
Basically, if you want...
Everything's spread out.
You can go to part of the Olympics, but not all of it.
Right. So everything's like 3 hours away from each other. So they had opening ceremonies at different locations, but they did a good job with the cameras, mashing it all up. But the initial ceremonies, I thought was pretty cool. Kids thought it was entertaining, very vibrant in colors. And I thought it was good. They did a good job. I think they had, I'd be curious what the symbolism, I haven't looked into it enough, of all the outfits were, because they had I think the Colosseum was one of the outfits. I think there was like a French press coffee pot as another one of them.
Nice. No, it's a great, I love this time of year. Just the whole, all of it. You know, I even like when they do the night, like at night, when it's like 11 at night and they do like the little wrap up in the booth, or they might have like one Olympian there that won a gold medal earlier that day. And then it's like a rite of passage, and it's kind of long. Right? It's, what is it, like 2 weeks and some change, right? It's a little longer than you think. And yeah, I've just been loving it. How about Italy? So if you're the host, do you get a team and everything? Because they're in hockey. I'm assuming they didn't qualify. They just got a spot because of the host nation.
Maybe.
I think it's like the World Cup. Like the U.S., I think, was in automatically because you're hosting it. I'm very intrigued by this Italian hockey team. I want to see what that's all about. It seems like it could be fun.
I think
good hair, like it could be really fun.
I've played in World Championships against Team Italy before.
Okay, so tell me what we got.
And some of the Italian players are really American citizens, where Italy was like, your last name ends in a vowel. You want to be Italian.
So like Vinny Lettieri is playing for Italy?
Exactly.
Okay, great.
And then they get an Italian passport. Next thing you know, you're playing against them.
My sense is that's not the case this year. Or like, I feel like some of the guys we would know would be over there. I feel like it's going to just be like, I'm not saying it's like an Italian beer league team, but I'm very intrigued by this squad.
You know, it'll be fun to watch. My sole complaint about the Olympics is when I want it all right now, like at my fingertips. I have such a hard time, and maybe it's just because millennial now, or it's like the way that it is. But opening ceremonies, and then I want the next day to be able to watch any event that I want and all of it. It obviously doesn't work that way based on schedule or anything else either, but having to wait like a week to get to the men's hockey is kind of torture a little bit right now.
I know, slow start. They need a heat index thing. Like, because when a goalie fight happens, you hear about it instantly. The Amber Alert goes out. But also, like, occasionally it'll be like, hey, you got to turn this on, Tampa and Florida. It's a gong show. Like, flip this on. I wish the Olympics had something like that. Like, hey, if you're going to be watching only one thing on the Olympics right now, turn to USA Network because the biathlon is in a playoff or whatever. Like, I need that.
I'll tell you what it is right now.
What is it?
It's short track speed skating.
Yeah, well, that always is.
Short track speed skating is unbelievable. I don't even know the name of this race. I got caught watching. It was captivating when they're like, it was chaos. They had a start, and I think I watched it at the perfect time, or I turned it on at the perfect time. Get ready to start. Boom. The gun goes off and they start racing. And then all of a sudden, like a dozen people show up on the inside of the short track.
Yeah.
And they're skating in a circle.
Wipeouts when you watched?
There were some wipeouts.
Yeah, which is fun.
Yeah, but they also, those other people just jump in and then push, like the skater that's skating pushes the new person in. It's almost like it's like a relay race.
Yes.
For short track speed skating without a baton. And they're like shoving each other back and forth, like they're flying through. I don't know. It was like, I was like, what is, I can't remember ever seeing it, but that's it. That's what you need to watch.
No, and now the hockey's going to really get cooking. The U.S. women play the Canadians tomorrow in pool play, which should be spicy. I've also been consuming a lot of I will say Team Canada is doing a really good job with like music video type content, like their athletes singing little skits, kind of TikTok. It's making me a little worried for the women. Like, it's like a lot of team chemistry. If you're making a little song and dance video on TikTok that's that good, like you're probably a pretty tight group. Like, I kind of think Heisey and Zumwinkle need to like make, call me maybe, like get out there, get in the mix, like make something. Because these have been strong videos from the Canadian team as a whole, all of them. It's like they have a TikTok specialist with them or something. It's troubling, but we'll see.
I don't know. Heisey and Zumwinkle have been putting out good, wholesome content. Mm-hmm. I'm here for that. Yeah.
I'm just saying a little bit of singing and, there's some good stuff coming out of Team Canada.
So if you've been following the podcast at all, I'm super intrigued with are the pros staying in Olympic Village?
And I said, no way. But
we had Bill Guerin on it's just so good. If you didn't watch the Montreal game where we had Bill Guerin on in the second period, I asked him, like, hey, like, what are these guys? What's it going to be like for guys that are used to 700, thread count sheets? And
he gave an Olay on that, though. He was I'm not in charge of that.
Well, so that I had a follow up because I wanted more. That's part of what makes the Olympics great, is that it's a different experience than playing in the NHL. And I was like, that's a good point. So it is twin sized beds, in the Olympic Village. I love that.
Lunchables.
And then I was like,
microwave.
Where he flexed on it was like, now I'm curious. These guys don't have roommates anymore. Like, who's picking roommates? Because I could see Billy like picking I want Brady Tkachuk with, I don't know, Quinn Hughes, or just coming up with a combo. And he's like, I don't know. I've got too much going on to worry about that.
But what was the quote you said? That I love it. That somebody said like, this will be fun for a night.
So then Canada, this is where we're going to have to do a deep dive on this.
Oh, it's Doughty, right?
Yeah. And there might be a little controversy. So Doughty was now asked, this is Canada.
Yep.
If he's staying in the Olympic Village, and his response led others to believe that maybe changes are in the mix. He said, yeah, tonight we are. And then the reporter says, tonight? So are you planning to move out of? And he's like, I don't know. I'm not talking about that right now. Mm-hmm. So maybe there is some movement in and out of Olympic Village.
Because once one team moves, I don't know. It's like, well, we're staying in the twin beds because it's supposed to be different. That's a tough sell.
These are the kinds of decisions that
they win tournaments.
They win tournaments. Like, no, we're going to grind it out because this is about a different experience at the Olympics.
You're going to become closer if you do this. You're going to feel like a college team. Or
the memory is going to be better in the end if you win like this. And this is great content for our guest today, Dan Brooks, who joins the show. Dan Brooks, son of legendary Herb Brooks, was at Lake Placid 1980. We'll get to that in a bit. But Herb had to make these types of tough decisions on, every little detail of the team.
Based on everything I know, I don't think Herb would be pulling them out to the Ritz.
No, he would have, if they requested it, he would have brought sandpaper sheets.
Yeah, he would have had him sleeping on the floor. He's definitely, he's not concerned with thread count or Fiji water bottles or whatever the case would be. Hey, our Wild guys are on break. I think they get 12 days. Is that what they get? I mean, it's a nice break. I'd be curious. I'd love a map where you can see like, okay, 70% of NHLers are in Cabo, 30% stayed home with their young children. I'm just curious where they all went, but we had a nice little run there at the end, getting the Canadians, who I think is a very similar team to the Wild. They got a lot of spunk. Even when you're beating them, they can come back. Cole Caulfield, there's a few guys kind of trying to leave their mark that didn't make the Olympic team. And then you had Nashville, a game I was kind of nervous about. I don't know why. It just felt like an extra game before the break. Boldy gets the hat trick right out of the chute. And again, another game where the Wild just kind of keep fighting and get there. And Kaprizov, I think the note on him a little bit has been that I had a buddy say his points aren't loud enough, is what he said, because he was kind of like, yeah, he's getting a lot of points, but they're not big, meaningful points. But I tell you what, down the stretch here, these last, whatever it's been, 5, 6, 7 games, this guy's been scoring game winners and tying goals, and these are not secondary assists and that sort of thing. And so seeing Kirill really kind of lead down the stretch, the Boldy hat trick, a lot of people chipping in both those games, points from tons of people. And Spurgeon, the point you've made a couple times, a guy that's been nothing but a captain this season as his workload has changed. He had another, winning goal and just a moment where he just like puts his hands up, and it's hard not to root for him, the way he's carried himself this year, and he has scored a couple big goals like that. What
is encouraging about the Wild, and to your point on Kaprizov maybe not scoring enough loud goals or whatever, this goes without saying. It's just important that they're being scored. So I look at Colorado, and you've got Nathan MacKinnon, and his goals are by nature just louder. They're highlight variety. You see more of them, but who has nearly just as many? Brock Nelson. And you need guys like that. And I don't think at any point in time, Brock Nelson is going to be able to kind of leapfrog Nathan MacKinnon and kind of steal the limelight. What's interesting in Minnesota is that Matt Boldy is on like this trajectory in terms of like what he's going to be as a player. I think we know what Kirill is. At his age, you know what Kirill is as a player. Great player. He's going to get you 100 points. Like, that's an unbelievable player. But I still don't know that we've seen the ceiling on Matt Boldy. And it's still possible that production-wise, this could become Matt Boldy's team. Matt Boldy could become Nathan MacKinnon, and Kaprizov could be Brock Nelson. I don't think anybody would have predicted that 6 months ago. Would you have?
Yeah, well, remember I think Billy said 50-50.
50-50. I talked about that.
And then I think I saw him like half a year later, and I think he was on your thing again, and I think somehow it turned into 40-40 somewhat. But when he said that at the time, 50 goals, 50 assists, it felt kind of radical. Certainly doesn't now.
No, but also Matt Boldy's, I don't know that we've seen his best yet. And I do think that like Kirill at his age, at some point, you're no longer a prospect. And now Kirill's argument would be like, I got a really good buddy that wears number 36 that was like a fine wine and got better with age. And Matt Zuccarello certainly has. So it is possible that Kaprizov can still change parts of his game and get to 120, 100, and, get like Kucherov level type offense.
I think if
But Matt Boldy right now, like it's they're neck and neck in terms of like who's the best forward on this team right now.
And I went down this rabbit hole. Actually, it's funny you brought this up. Matt Boldy, I think Minnesotans kind of think like almost like he overachieved getting here. His pedigree is phenomenal. I mean, if you dig into the development team and some of those teams he's on, he's right at the top of scoring on all those teams. I think he was with Jack Hughes, but it'll be, Jack will have 54 points and Boldy will have 52. You look at the top all-time scorers on the U.S. team, and you'll see him in there. I mean, this guy's been a blue chipper.
He's always been Robin, but maybe he's getting ready to be Batman.
He's just been phenomenal. He's using his body. The one thing I'll say about Kaprizov, though, is I still think there's something to unlock there. Kucherov, I think, scored like 50 points in the month of January, or so. It was something ridiculous. He went on a McDavid-like run in January, just racked up points. Maybe it was, I don't know, it was like 38 points in 22 games or something like that. You put another ingredient with Kirill, this Tavares talk with trade, I don't know. I just think if you got the right combination, I still think there's another gear on 97 as well. And that's no shade at Matt.
Has there been outside Tavares chatter now? Because I talked about that, I think, like last.
I think the only chatter has been from you, but I like it. But this idea of, so if all of a sudden.
Yeah, center. You get him middle. And that's not throwing shade on Hartman.
We love Ryan Hartman. I think everyone knows that, including Ryan Hartman. But I just think if Matt's becoming a 50-50 guy, this is not a guy. It was a bold prediction, I think, for me to say 90 points, right? So if he gets 100, that's a leap, right? But I think Kirill, there's a 135 point in there.
Power play is good
with the right combination of guys.
And where he gets it, so I don't think Kirill's going to get more points. I think if you break the game down like this, like he's not going to get more points in overtime. Power play, maybe a handful of more points over the course of the year, but the power play is one of the best in the league right now, and everything runs through him. So it's hard to say he's going to get more points in the power play. He's not going to get more in overtime. So that kind of leads you to and he scores he's got a handful of empty netters, late game situations, which all these guys do. So he gets all those points. I don't think you can expect him to get too many more in those categories. So it is 5-on-5 play. And I don't know that, right now, Matt Zuccarello and Kaprizov have chemistry, but it is possible that there's another wing out there that could unlock some stuff inside Kaprizov too.
Well, and fundamental difference between the two players, right? Matt Boldy likes to shoot the puck. Kirill Kaprizov, I think he would prefer to make a great pass. He shoots, but he's a passer. And a lot of times when he scores, it's a tip, right? It's a tip in front. If Crosby's done this during his career, I think McKinnon did this as well, where it's like in an off season, they're like, you know what? I'm going to start scoring more goals. I'm going to start shooting more. Boldy's a trigger man. I think it's interesting that on a power play, well, I guess Kirill has the same thing on the other side. There's kind of a couple spots where you start knowing, like, okay, Matt's going to be here. He's got his stick up. He's ready for it. He's going to put it in on one knee. I think Kirill's got that. He's kind of wired on that pass, same as Zuki, right? We got a lot of guys like that. They almost want to pass the puck into the net. I think Kirill actually has passed the puck into the net this year. But Boldy's got a little more trigger man, like –
he's got a little bit more attack right now, and that's kind of what I mean when I say there could be a winger that complements.
Yes,
that complements Kaprizov.
You throw a Gensel, you throw a Braden Point.
Like you'll see Boldy get breakaways, right? He's like I'm going for it. We don't see Kirill get that many breakaways. Maybe there's a winger someday that's telling Kirill like, hey, make this play, do this, send him. And not that Zuki can't send him. And again, this isn't throwing shade on him, but let's say you put a Brady Tkachuk with a Kirill Kaprizov. It's going to be entirely different than Matt Zuccarello. They might score similar amounts. They might, play a different style of hockey, but it could be a good compliment. Don't really know.
Unfortunately, the best player to play with Kirill Kaprizov would be Kirill Kaprizov. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like that's almost what you're looking for is another version of him, right? Nationally, it is true though. When people talk about the Wild, they are saying two guys' names. They also say Quinn Hughes now, but you're hearing. Well, they got Kirill, Boldy, and Hughes, right? You're hearing him in that group. It's not Robin. It's more X-Men, right? This is a group of superheroes on this team. That's why we're a top 5 Stanley Cup contender.
Before we get into potential trade targets for the Wild, did you trade in anything in and out of the TV tray from your ordinary Super Bowl lineup?
God, the food was unbelievable at the Super Bowl. I mean, people just raised their game. It was phenomenal. I guess now we're going to probably be healthy, so I would probably head over to Cub. Maybe just like some bottles of water, mix in a salad, get some good protein over at Cub. This is a local brand. They're one of us. They love sports. They sponsor this podcast. They're on PJ Flex headset. They do the Homer Hankies back when the Twins are rolling. So Cub Foods, shop happy at Cub. How about HVAC systems
or water? Yeah. Speaking of New Year and resolutions and getting healthy now.
New month. Yep.
Yeah. If your New Year's resolution is fading, like mine is a little bit, but you don't want, the things you invest in your home to fade, maybe call our friends at Aquarius Home Services. So they've got great water treatment, whether you need the reverse osmosis at the sink, the water softener downstairs, or you're like me and you've got iron all up in your water and you need all that filtered out. They've got you covered. But hey, they're not just a one-stop shop. They do more than Water Kinger. So as winter starts to fade, there's going to be another polar vortex or blast or two coming through. And if you're nervous at all about your furnace, they've got deals. They'll come and check it out, make sure it's humming along and everything's going as it should. So whether you need your furnace looked at, electrical stuff, or you're just looking for water treatment, you can call. You can get a free water analysis today. You can have somebody come out to your house for a checkup on your furnace. But Aquarius Home Services, check them out, aquariushomeservices.com, earning the right to be recommended.
Great job.
So, Kinger, trade targets. I'm starting to see Nazem Kadri's name roll around. We like that one a little bit.
We like the hard-nosed stuff.
Yeah, I like that. Like a guy with term. Billy's at the Olympics. He's a mover and a shaker. He's a polarizing guy. There are GMs with other organizations at the Olympics. So I have to imagine the Olympic Village. Yeah, you saw the full list.
Half of the teams are there, GMs.
It seems like it. And then those teams are probably like some of the better teams, so maybe they're more buyers than sellers. But
so let's just go into a bunch of different scenarios because this is all going to happen fast. These Olympics are going to end hopefully with gold for the U.S. and then about a week later it's the trade deadline. So I think the responsible example that's been said a ton is Trocheck, right? Good on faceoffs, Team USA guy, centerman. I think the most exciting thing that gets talked about is Brady Tkachuk. I don't even know how that would happen, but obviously some bad juju in Ottawa with this gossipy story. Big connection between the fathers. Very interesting USA pipeline with Billy, obviously. That's insane. I mean, that would be another Quinn Hughes, right? That would be another kind of Christmas morning to go all the way back. But it seems like we're just focused on one more top 6 forward. That seems to be the only thing we're in play for that I can tell.
And all the pundits seem to think and point towards like centerman. Like all the rumors are centerman.
Because of trading Rossi and
it's kind of been what everybody said the Wild have been missing. I think they'd be happy with a high-end wing too. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's going to go fast. I think they're comfortable with their blue line. I think they're comfortable in net. And then you hear that maybe there's some chatter on the goaltending and maybe having to move Volstead to be able to get somebody big like Trocheck. Now, if I'm analyzing Trocheck and his availability, I think New York can kind of hold strong on whatever their value is because his value is likely not going anywhere. You know, he's got term left on his deal, and you know, if deadline next year rolls around, he's probably got the same value he does this year. So he could be expensive. And a lot of these guys, the hard part is I think a guy with term makes sense for the Wild more than a rental. Now Vegas plays it this way where they'll go trade for a rental and they'll say like, we believe that we can turn this rental into a player because Vegas is a destination that people want to play at. Like the culture's good.
Like Florida.
Good. Yeah, like Florida right now. And I think Minnesota's becoming that a little bit. Like roll the dice, an extra year with Quinn Hughes, but come here and feel what it's like. Like Quinn Hughes excited. He talks about, yeah, it's fun. Like I enjoy playing with Fabes. The power play is good. I get to have a lot of shifts with Kirill. Like he's enjoying it, you know? And so I think it makes more sense to get a guy with term, but I do think it's possible that if they can go get a guy that is a pure rental for a little less than a guy with term, the risk might be worth the reward because guys, I think, are intrigued and interested in re-signing here.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the standings just because you're really going to be targeting teams that are out of it, right? You know what's interesting is the Panthers are way out of it. I mean, they don't feel they're out of it though. I know because and it looks like Barkov is working his way back, but I mean they're in last place in the Atlantic. God, can you imagine some of the pieces on that team? It looks like Ottawa.
Well, yeah, you can't get any of them. None of them want to leave. They probably all have no movement. None want to leave.
I mean, what do you got? You got the Blues, the Jets.
You hear rumors about
Flames,
the Blues,
Canucks. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. I would like seeing one more piece, like a top six forward popping in there. I think the standard is probably if you're going to make a trade at this stage, it's a center that plays with Kaprizov, right? I mean, isn't that the brief? Hartman bounces to a different line, and it has to be a person that you add to that top line, I think.
I agree. And I also think then if that's what you're trying to do, it has to be somebody that
sticks.
Well, not only just sticks, it has to be somebody that is a very clear improvement over Ryan Hartman. I don't think you can kind of go sideways with that and just take a different name and just for the group. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I think it has to be like a big name, like a Tavares. You know, there was early on in the year that, you know, Pittsburgh's going to have a reunion here in Minnesota where it's going to be Malkin or Crosby or somebody. Like a name like that would make sense, you know, where I just think
they're in second place. Pittsburgh is just playing too well to be doing anything.
Yeah, they're not doing anything. They're not. And that's the other problem with a lot of these other teams is where they're at in their – look at San Jose. They're buying pieces right now. They're not selling pieces. There's a lot of teams that are like, hey – this is worth it for me because we're in like stage 2 to 3 of a rebuild where we got to see if we can win tough games with this group down the stretch and maybe eke into the playoffs, knowing that, hey, we probably got no chance to win a Stanley Cup, but that experience will help the young guys, like Celebrini's experience. This is Chicago with Bedard's experience. And I think you can even look at Columbus and some of these other ones. Like Charlie Coyle's an interesting name. And he's a name that's been thrown out there. That's the kind of guy where I'm talking about where it's like, I don't know if that's like a great move because
he's on fire right now. And so are the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, but where are you going to put him? Okay. I just don't think.
I don't think he's going anywhere is my point. I think they're really pushing.
Oh, yeah. But let's say you got Charlie Coyle. Great, good player. He's going to help whoever, if he goes someplace, he's going to help them. But if he comes in and then takes Ryan Hartman's spot, then Ryan Hartman's displaced. I just don't think that's like. No, it needs. I think that's a net negative.
It needs to be like Tavares. It needs. Yeah, Tavares has that same like feeling as like one of those Pittsburgh guys coming. Yeah. Right. Hasn't won a cup.
Right.
This is a absolute superstar. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be a no-brainer. Here's my spot. You take it. I'll try to earn it back.
The other one, and I think he's a wing, but I'm very intrigued by it. I've been following this. All this stuff around Michkov in Philadelphia, like I don't know, the fans, he's getting like healthy scratch. They said he was out of shape. I mean, this to me, if you wanted to find the Kirill playing with Kirill. I think they're both wings though, but he's another one. Like if they're going to give up on this guy, this was the guy that was going head to head with Bedard back in the day. I mean, this is a huge prospect that sort of hasn't figured it out in Philadelphia. Russian, young kid, superstar. God, I tell you what, if you could buy low on him.
I think even if you buy low, it's high.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean?
People know, like, I don't want egg on my face trading this guy. But it seems like a very
if Philly trades that guy,
very unhealthy marriage in Philadelphia.
If Philly trades that guy, they have to think that they 100% win that trade.
And they're killing him there. I mean, it sounds like it's really not healthy. So I always like situations like that, right? It's like, oh,
hey, what's up?
This isn't working.
Hey, how was your Super Bowl party?
It was great.
You won some money.
I did. I won the second half. What was it, 9-0?
Whoever had 0.
Yeah, then 3-0 on the first one.
3-0, 9-0, 12-0, if I'm not mistaken.
I tell you, the food was, I mean, it's just leveled up beyond belief. There was like so many different types of food, crab cakes. It was just insane. It was like foodie. You know, we always bring the hot dog roller, I say it's the offensive lineman of the Super Bowl party. It's not the flashiest, but you got 70 dogs on there. There's some kids at the party. It just works hard.
Could you level up the dog? Like
we tried that, and they
get like a little croissant or a little crescent roll, and then roll it around the outside of it, and then slowly let that bake till it's golden brown. Then you get like
so have tried this. What we've learned is it's not wise to get cute with the hot dog roller. First of all, if you get like bigger sausages, you know, a brat with gummy bears in it or whatever, they don't work on the roller as well. And then it just turns into...
Because hot dogs are straight. Sausages
straight and
aren't.
skinny, right? And that's how the hot dog roller is made. I'm sure there's like a brat roller, but I don't own one of those. But yeah, last year was really a tough one for the hot dog roller. We had we left it unattended. One of the bun bags got hooked into the plastic bun bag, got hooked into the roller, and we were shooting wieners all over the gym floor of this guy's house. So it was even debatable whether
they put the hot dog roller in the gym.
Yeah,
that's how much respect they have for the hot dog roller.
Well, there's a big area there, and but yeah, it was not good. There's like a whiskey display. There's like a vodka fountain. This is a fancy Super Bowl party.
So it's multiple rooms.
Yeah, but the thing with this is we scaled it way back. Ketchup, mustard, relish, buns. All the hot dogs are the same brand. We didn't get cute with that. And then some gluten-free buns for the special ones among us. And clean, just plan the work the plan. It's a part of the experience. It's not going to be on the podium, but people are glad it's there.
It's a good base.
If it wasn't there, yeah, it's a halftime. You're going to go before the game and get all the crazy stuff, the bacon wrapped this, the smoked queso dip, all the things. But then when it's halftime and you're just alone in your thoughts, you're going to take a walk and get a hot dog. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, get that busy.
It's just like Doritos. Like you're still going to take a handful of nacho cheese Doritos.
Yeah.
Even if there's lobster, clam bake, you're still going to throw it in there.
What do you think of Bad Bunny?
That's what you don't mess with me. Well, there were lots of different halftime shows on, and I didn't see much of Bad Bunny.
I saw it. I thought it was fine, entertaining. What was most entertaining is there was like snippets of. This is impressive. I don't know how they brought all like the props onto the field that fast
and then off. Right?
Well, so I saw I was loosely paying attention during commercials, and it came back for a quick second, and it showed some of like the shrubs or some of the tall grasses. I think it ended up being like cane sugar. It was moving, and I was like, it looks like there's a body in there. And then it turns out they were actually people.
They were holding it, or they were actually made the thing.
Like there was a costume or something of these grasses, and there were people inside of it. So now I'm like, I'm appreciating all the people standing like in their spot and then standing still while he's going through his show. That's maybe the most impressive part about it.
What was your review of it? Did you like it?
I didn't. I couldn't follow
the overall show. Did you like the Bad Bunny?
No.
Okay,
I couldn't say that I like it or dislike it because I didn't understand it.
I had a group text and the guys really liked it. They thought it was it was almost like a music video. But
that's the part I liked. Like the visuals were good.
I think this is so good. So my wife watched Bad Bunny, and this is just my all-time favorite line. She just said, it started really good. They were in a neighborhood and almost like a little store, and it was really fun. And then she goes, and then he just went into the weeds. For like 10 minutes, he was in the weeds, and I didn't like that. That's what she said. So what you just described, human beings dressed as foliage, this whole...
You can't tell they're weeds.
You
cannot tell.
This whole Wizard of Oz experience they created, it was reduced by my wife too. And then he was in the weeds, and I didn't like that. But yeah, I don't know a lot about him. I've liked him on Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. He seems like an entertaining dude, but I'm still kind of wondering, like, I think we need like Bieber to do a halftime. We need Taylor to do a halftime.
How about Tate McRae, by the way, USA?
McRae. Yep, she came over to our side, which is good. I think we just need. I'm just getting older now, so like the halftime artist, I don't know as well, but I would love to see kind of a Bieber, a Harry Styles, like a kind of a one name Miley Cyrus. Give me like back when it was Gaga, Katy Perry, Shakira, U2, Prince. I would like to see a one-namer come back. Bad Bunny, I guess, is a massive star, obviously, but just not, I don't know.
I'm with you. Like,
how great would Miley Cyrus be, for halftime, or Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift?
Biebs would be good.
Biebs would be awesome. And, even country, Luke Combs, Stapleton. I don't know. I'd like to see some of those just massive acts. I don't know.
I thought Green Day did pretty good too. I only got to watch a little bit of it.
I just saw it. I couldn't hear it. It was no audio.
Bananas, but that brought back some memories. What did you think of the commercial game?
I thought it was weak.
Yeah, me
generally.
too.
I've heard that from others. I just love the Ben Stiller, Benson Boone. I had watched the director's cut. I think Spike Jonze directed that, who's pretty much a genius. And there's like a 3-minute version of this. I just loved it. The karaoke thing was pretty experimental, where they ran the whole track as a karaoke video. So there was some stuff happening, but overall I felt like it was a down year in the commercials.
Yeah, I felt that it was a down year too. And I was sitting around, I actually got busted. So 2 levels at my party, and
child and adult.
No gyms or hot dog rollers or anything, but still good food. But I was able to go into the basement, and I had the big TV kind of by myself. Usually you're thinking somebody else was going to come down.
Yeah.
And I probably had 10 minutes down there.
Solo.
Yeah. Which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Because I could actually like watch the football game and pay attention to the commercials. Now, in that commercial break, there was nothing noteworthy in the commercial, so it kind of was a bummer. I was like, man, it's kind of lame, but that's really my whole frame of reference. But have you actually ever watched a Super Bowl?
So this came up last night. We were driving home from the party, and one of the guys when we were driving home was like, wouldn't it be weird just to like throw a blanket on your lap and like watch the Super Bowl in your own house? Like, everyone likes going to the party, but like there is something intriguing and exciting about being like, what if we just watched the Super Bowl? I mean, I guess like my parents did that last night, I think, but like I've never done that. I'm always somewhere.
Yeah.
You're always, trying to.
And it's always, did you see? Like, I don't know if I saw that. I don't know. Because you're always watching it like with one eye.
Yeah, the audio's kind of jacked.
Well, but you're at the buffet table. You're in a conversation. You're
seeing which squares won. Yeah, but I guess you got to get out for that day, though, right?
I've been real grumpy lately about schedule and schedulers. Can we
should be earlier?
And let's just get a petition going. It's 2 weeks. I get it. Sunday is football's day, but let's have the Super Bowl be on Saturday.
If we're not going to give us the Monday off, do it on Saturday.
Exactly.
Or just start it at 3:30.
Yeah, start it earlier or have it on Saturday.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. And then you could really get into it.
Yeah.
Step on the gas.
The weird part about the NFL is after college football stops, they take over Saturday too. So it's Saturday and Sunday.
They take most of the day.
And then it's Super Bowl Sunday. But let's make it Super Bowl Saturday. And because we had hosted a party last year and it was a blast, but everybody stayed up a little too late.
Yeah.
Kids missed school. And if you've listened to the last podcast, you know we want these kids in school.
That's right. It's important.
So we had to tone it down, but we want to watch this Super Bowl, you know?
Yeah, I could see that.
All right, Super Bowl on Saturday. We'll get a petition going. But
well done.
Yeah. Let's get into the star of this show, the son of Herb Brooks. So many good stories from behind the scenes. Friend of ours, friend of the show, Dan Brooks.
All right, we got a great guest today. It is the Winter Games, and this interview is sponsored by Duke Cannon. This guy is a bit of a fashion plate. He probably has some Duke Cannon body wash, maybe some hair products. He's been into a Target looking for cologne. Earn your clean with Duke Cannon. On the program today, we have Danny Brooks, former Denver Pioneer, St. Thomas Academy, son of the legendary Herb Brooks. What better guy to talk to, especially with the new documentary on Netflix, which he appears in, which was fun to see. And we thought this would be no better guest than Danny Brooks as we head into Olympic timing here. Welcome to the program.
Great to be here. Thank you.
DB, going to the Olympics, were you along for the whole 1980 ride? Like, when did you get there?
I was. So I was in 7th grade at St. John the Baptist in New Brighton, Minnesota. And the main thing I was looking forward to is I got to miss 2.5 weeks of school. That's all I cared about. But yeah, I was there. So we went to New York City. First time I was in New York City. First time my mom was in New York City. We started there, witnessed the first Soviet game. So I was in Madison Square Garden, watched that game, and from there we took an Amtrak to upstate New York. And I think the Amtrak took us to Plattsburgh, New York, which is probably about an hour, half hour to an hour away from Lake Placid. Then we attended every game at the Olympics and flew home on Air Force One and was greeted by my Mounds View APWE teammates at Humphrey Terminals right after we got off of Air Force One. So it was an incredible 2.5 week experience.
That's awesome. Hey, I wanted to get into, I loved this new doc. You know, this story is obviously the greatest story in sports. And the fact that they can keep juicing the orange, and I was crying on an airplane. I think the perspective of this one, this is called Miracle, The Boys of 1980. If you haven't watched it, you need to. But it really was about, it seemed to be about who everyone was playing for, right? Whether it was Jim Craig or a hometown in Boston. The Herb story was a big part of it. Can you tell us what it was like putting that thing together and what you thought of it when you saw it? You probably had some sort of premiere or they shared it with you early.
Yeah. So I was, to your point, Kinger, when I first heard they were going to do a documentary, I was like, really? Everybody knows everything. We know the results. The movie by Disney was awesome. And if you go back prior to the movie Miracle in 2004, HBO actually did a documentary called Do You Believe in Miracles? And that's where the idea for the movie came out. But, after talking to the producer was the longtime producer of HBO Real Time Sports with Brian Gumbel. So, and he wanted wanted to find out more about the team that people didn't know, kind of interpersonal stories. But I was a little bit like, I just didn't think there really could be more to be told. And they did the interview with us, my sister and I, back in May. And I kind of forgot about it. And then I heard it was going to come out. And it just so happens that last weekend, Kelly and I and our families were in Lake Placid when this thing came out on a completely different event. So they unveiled a statue of my dad at the Lake Placid Arena. Karts, I don't know if you've been there. I don't know if you've ever skated there. But they unveiled a statue basically identical to the one that's in St. Paul, only a little bit smaller. So we got to watch the documentary that night with a group of people, with my sister, her family, and some other people in Lake Placid. And it was, I had heard, my mom watched it during the day that Friday. We watched it Friday evening, and I heard David Christian reached out and said it's a tearjerker. And my mom was crying, so it was. I thought the documentary was phenomenal. A lot of emotional parts. I knew a lot about those stories. It was good to see some of the some of these old pictures of the team and some of the clips of the tournament. But it was absolutely fantastic, and it's blowing up. I'm getting texts and calls from people that I haven't seen in 30, 40 years. Some of my buddies from the old Mounds View days and my college days, so it's really really special, and it's just amazing how the story just keeps growing and growing, and it keeps on being told.
Hey, what did your sister think? There was a moment there where I didn't know if she was going to get a sentence in the cut. They had the couple shots of you together and you were doing lines. And I'm picturing your sister going, wait a minute, they cut me out of this. But then she comes out later with the box.
Yeah. The box of the speeches. Yeah, remember, Kelly was young back then. So she's, 5 years younger than me. So a lot of the stuff from, the 70s, 1980, and the early 80s, she kind of reverts to me because she was very young. She remembers the whole tournament and being there. But I had some other good things that they cut. Unfortunately, I was hoping they would have had a couple of tidbits in there, but he had a lot of material. Again, phenomenal job, phenomenal.
What give us some of those? This is your chance. You're going to be what is this?
Is this Mean Joe Green?
One thing that I love that they got Eric Heiden. So I thought that was awesome. Not, he's not associated with the team, but, what he did in Lake Placid will never be done again. And if it wasn't for the Miracle on Ice, he would have been, the biggest Olympian, the biggest Olympic story in decades, really. But I was glad that he was in the documentary. One thing that I take issue with that I don't think was completely accurate is how they portrayed. Well, first of all, let me back up. I love the fact that Kenny Morrow was featured a lot. Kenny was an unbelievable defenseman, won 4 Stanley Cups right in a row after that 80 Olympic team. Great player for that team. Probably their best all-around D, but kind of a strong silent type. Never really has taken an active role in talking about this. So I'm glad that he was involved in this. Phenomenal guy. He still works for the Islanders, by the way. He's a professional scout. I got to spend time with him in the White House in December. Another crazy story that maybe we can talk about. But I'm glad that Kenny was involved. I was glad that Steve Janicek was involved too. So he was one of my favorite Gophers. A Hill Murray graduated from Hill Murray in '76, played on 2 national championship teams. Great that Janny was in there. However, one thing that I don't think was quite accurate. I don't like how the documentary portrayed Steve as the predetermined backup goalie. And from what I remember, he really wasn't, because they played, 50 games prior to that tournament. And Janny played about half of them. He played in the Soviet games. So that great spinorama move that they showed by, I think it was Krutov or Petrov, that had that unbelievable spinorama backhand goal that you just didn't see back then. You see it today, but he was in net. And so what I remember is he and Craig and Janicek kind of platooned all the way up, and my dad kind of went with Jimmy Craig right towards the end. The documentary portrayed him like he was the predetermined backup goalie. But that being said, I was so glad that he was featured, because just a phenomenal guy. And even though he didn't play a lot during that tournament, or didn't play at all, he was an integral part. And I guarantee you, my dad was in his ear that entire tournament. telling him how important he was. So again, he was one of my favorite all-time golfers. I'm glad he was featured.
So your dad wrote down his speeches, wrote down his drills. Like, did you guys have like a bunch of that stuff that you found in a shoebox in his closet, or where'd you get that?
Still do. So Kelly, Kelly bought my parents' house. And so my dad left a lot of his things. My dad's very organized. Kinger, as you know, you've got one of the great Herb Brooks stories of all time that I always get a chuckle out of. But my dad was very organized. Yes, he wrote things down. And Karts, I've got these little notebook. It's like not a 8.5 by 11 page, but kind of an intermediate size, where I think he was bored one day and he just did like a mind dump of all his drills. So I've got like all these drills that he wrote. And then on the other page, he like had handwritten descriptions, and it was all on Olympic or New York Ranger letterhead. So yeah, we've got all that stuff. The actual speech that he had, I believe he was holding a piece of paper when he gave the speech in the locker room. I don't know where that exact piece is. Maybe it's the one that Kelly had. But he's very organized and kept everything. Where's the gold medal now? My mom has it. My mom has it in a safe deposit box somewhere that we bring out from time to time to show people. Well, what's the greatest piece of memorabilia you've got from the Olympics era? Oh God, I wish I would have kept some of my stuff. They gave me credentials because, like, my dad struck a deal with the powers that be that I was going to be like a stick boy or something. So I've got like credentials that you may have seen in the documentary. But I don't have a lot. Hats and scarves and that type of thing. I wish I would have kept more. But I didn't think, back when I was 12 years old, I didn't think it was going to be as big as it is 46 years later. Had I known, I would have kept everything. Yeah, we'll definitely have to do another movie on the 50th anniversary. It'll probably still be great. It'll still be great. Hey, I got to ask you, you're a fashion guy. So these jumpsuits, these jean jackets with the fur lining, these cowboy hats, does anybody, maybe Harrington can probably fit into this stuff still. Does this exist? Any of this old USA tracksuit? Those jean jackets were awesome in the opening ceremony. Shearling jacket. Yeah, we've got my dad's. Here's an interesting story that involves Hendy, Larry Hendrickson, Darby's dad. You guys will get a kick out of this. My dad gave a lot of stuff away. He kept the key stuff, but he gave a lot of stuff away. He was great with Zamboni drivers, janitors at rinks. He was always kind of taking care of these people financially, and he'd give stuff to them. We didn't really know where the shearling jacket was. We kind of thought it was just in all his stuff down in the basement where he kept things. We didn't really go take inventory ever. One day, this was probably about 20 years ago, my mom gets a call from some woman in southern Minnesota in Wyndham. She goes, "Hi, Patty. You don't know me. My name is such and such, but I just want you to know my husband just passed away, and I believe we have something that belonged to your father or your husband, Herb." And my mom's like, "What would that be?" She says, "I think it's the shearling jacket he wore in the opening ceremony." My mom's like, "Really?" And she says, "Yeah, well, Larry Hendrickson gave it to him about 10 years ago." So my dad gave the shearling jacket to Hendy, who gave it to some guy in Wyndham, Minnesota, who passed away, and it came back to us. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, and so now my sister has it, but and the velour tracksuit, I believe. I don't know if you know Tim Tyson, who's good friends with my uncle and good friends with Craig Leopold. I believe Tim has my dad's velour Levi tracksuit. Those were beautiful. It's just the kind of baby blue and the red. Oh, they're basically like foot pajamas with USA on them. They're just comfy. Oh. So as a stick boy, did you get to stay in the Olympic Village? Did you get the whole experience? I did not. So even back then, the security was really, really intense. So my dad stayed at the Olympic Village. We rented a house quite a ways away up north, like a beautiful brand new cabin some guy rented, and a couple of the families that were part of the team. The general manager, and his family. But my dad stayed at the Olympic Village. Didn't get to see him a lot, but I was at every game. I was actually in the locker room for pretty much every game. I did not make it down to the locker room during the Soviet game, during the final 2 games, but I was in the locker room at the end. And so there's the clip when Eruzione's talking. I believe in the documentary, I say my favorite part, or my fondest memory, is after they won in the locker room. And so I'm standing behind Eruzione as he's talking. I've got my Mounds View AP green nylon jacket on and a cowboy hat. But prior to the two final games, I was actually in the locker room, and they did play one of the games in the small arena. It was called the 32 arena, the 1932 arena, which is the original rink. So they played one of the 7 games in that small arena. But for some reason, I couldn't get down there during the playoff round, so to speak.
Didn't you have a run-in? Who'd you meet? You met somebody famous down there.
Earl Campbell, and I told the story in the documentary, and he elected not to meet it. So for anybody my age or older, I played football. My favorite football player and team at the time, late 70s, was the Houston Oilers and Earl Campbell. So Earl Campbell won the Heisman in 77 and was the #1 running back for about 5 years. So he would be like Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
And so huge fan. And so it was the Czech game. And you can see this on my Instagram account, my Instagram page. We're kind of in the lobby and in the lower bowl. Everybody's filling in right before the game. Our neighbor who, from Shoreview, lived on Turtle Lake, happened to be in Lake Placid, knew of my love of Earl Campbell and the Houston Oilers, Bum Phillips and Billy White Shoes Johnson and all these guys. Comes up to me and goes, "Danny, you will not believe this, but Earl Campbell is in the arena." I'm like, "What?" So he goes, "Let's go down and see him." So I'm nervous as heck. So we walk down. He's at the end of the aisle. He and another guy. And I remember looking over his shoulder. He had like the 70s ski vest on, the baby blue, huge cowboy hat. And I remember looking down at his legs. His legs were like busting out of his jeans, right? And our neighbor, his name was Art Haig. He says, "Earl, this is Coach Brooks' son. He'd love to get an autograph." And the only thing I had was my ticket stub, Czech game. Handed it to him. He signs it, and I can still hear his voice. He turns around, hands it to me. He's got a big chew in because he was the spokesman for Skoal, right? Back then, smokeless tobacco was, those are TV commercials. He hands it to me. He says, in this Texas drawl, he says, "Tell your daddy I said good luck," and hands it to me.
Hey, I wanted to ask a little bit about Salt Lake. It's interesting. So your dad, he also went on a run in 2002. I think that was the year, right? So he beats the Russians in the semis to get to the gold medal game, and they lose to Canada in the gold. But it never gets talked about. I mean, to me, it's amazing.
It's kind of forgotten. That was a special tournament too. That Russian team was really, really good. Fedorov was at his peak, yeah. And Phil Housley got the game-winning goal in that semifinal game. The issue was, and my dad was so upset, the Swedes got upset by Belarus. And so what happened was they didn't reseed. So Team Canada in the semifinals had to play Belarus, which is just a total cakewalk. And the U.S. had this unbelievable, grueling game against the Russians. And we're just basically out of gas. And the Canadians started really slow in that tournament. It was a fun tournament in Salt Lake City. That was kind of the tail end of a lot of the, Gary Suter was on that team, Housley was on that team, Hull, Chelios. It was kind of like the end of their run, but fun nonetheless.
Hey, this footage in the documentary, I guess it was lost in a warehouse for 40 years. I mean, I think I've consumed every bit of 1980 propaganda there is. I've watched Miracle 1,000 times, but to see the press conference and Harrington screwing around and the kind of HD footage that they unearthed from that, and then a lot of these hometown interviews, it would be like, Care 11 style, they're at the house of Mike Eruzione, or it's so rich. It's almost like, even though you've overserved yourself on Miracle, when you watch this new documentary, it really surprises you and makes you emotional because you see it, all that footage, no one's ever seen it before.
Yeah, well, Mark Rosen, you can pick out Mark Rosen on that. He's like a 25-year-old, like he got like the short straw deal. He got to go to Lake Placid, and he, if you talk to I don't know if you ever talked to Rosen about it, but it's just like, it was just such a special thing for him to be there. But yeah, what I remember about Lake Placid, how, the first game against Sweden was the day before the opening ceremony. It was a morning game, and there's like 25% of the arena was full. No one was there. And I think someone in the documentary said, God, I kind of thought it'd be bigger than this, I remember I could hear the Swedes speaking in Swedish. And then how you fast forward, how it just accelerated. It was the biggest thing really at the world at the time. But yeah, the footage was great. It brought back a lot of great memories, late 70s, early 80s. The people of Lake Placid are phenomenal. I would say whoever's your audience, whoever has not had a chance to go to the Adirondacks and go to Lake Placid, do so, because it's just a special spot.
What do you think about this year's tournament? Exciting. Like, obviously you watch the Four Nations, the buildup of the big four teams, but what do you make of this year's tournament?
Well, I think it's unlike 1980, I think the U.S. is a favorite. Unfortunately, the Russians aren't going to be there. You've probably seen these, posts of what Team Russia would look like if they were there. But yeah, it's, barring any minor upset from Slovakia, the Czechs, the Finns, the Swedes, it looks like it's going to be U.S. Canada again, and one game. I think it probably is a toss-up. Hey, Karts, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I do think that Sweden and Finland are going to be tougher outs than like what it seems. I don't think it's an auto path right to the gold medal game.
You're right. And look,
once you get to a spot where anything can happen, like goalie plays good, can steal a game. That's kind of what's exciting about it too.
Germans, you look at some of those top German players, you look at some of the top Swiss players, I just don't know if those teams are deep enough, But one game, who knows? Anything can happen.
I agree that they're not there. Where my experience in the international stage is sometimes the European countries have a competitive advantage because, like a Germany, a slight competitive advantage because they'll have international breaks where a lot of the guys will skate together. So they've had more time together than, say, a team USA. Yeah. Now, they drop in a Draisaitl, Sturm, and some of these other players, but they've just played more hockey together. And sometimes that can help because their structure and system is just tighter. But I'm with you. I think the winner of this tournament comes down to, like, who's willing to give minutes to the players that are playing the best. Like, Canada's got Sid. Canada's got Drew Doughty, guys that are great players, maybe a little bit longer in the tooth. But if Macklin Celebrini comes out and is having a great tournament, are you going to give him the minutes that Sid maybe ordinarily takes? And if that's the hard decision that's made, obviously Canada had tough decisions in the crease at the Four Nations. Like, what will they do there? If Binnington, they stick with your guy. Cooper, I think, pulled all the right strings and put Binnington in a spot to have success. But, I think it'll come down to those types of hard, and not much different than the hard decisions your dad had to make in 1980. Like, it comes down to the tough decisions that coaches have to make in those situations.
And then the Finns, as you know, Karts, you played with a lot of Finns and against a lot of Finns. I mean, that's a country. Those guys are tough, and they in the Olympics, and you got to throw those guys in because that's the toughest group of guys, outside the U.S. and Canada when it comes to competing in the Olympics.
We ask a lot of players this. I'm curious if you could speak for your dad and would know. A lot of European players will put like an Olympic gold medal kind of above the Stanley Cup on their trophy case. How about your dad? What do you think he valued more, Olympic gold, Stanley Cup?
That's hard. He probably before his work in the NHL, he coached 4 NHL teams and became very, very close to, kind of the inner power of the NHL. He'd probably say a gold medal, but his, a cup it's up there. He got to know a lot of great, and coached a lot of great Canadians and knew what that meant, a Stanley Cup for them. And, talking about my dad's career, obviously his most gratifying victory, obviously, is the Miracle on Ice. But I tell you, something that stuck with him equally, unfortunately, on the opposite end of the spectrum, is they lost to the Islanders in 1984 in Game 7 in overtime. Okay, in that year, the Islanders went on to win the Stanley Cup, and Kenny Morrow scored the game-winning goal. It was actually 2 or 3 overtimes, I believe. And they had a chance to beat them. And if you talk to a lot of those Islander guys, I've talked to Brian Trottier, my dad's Rangers teams were the hardest to get through. But anyways, that loss to the Islanders in Game 7 in overtime, I know stuck with him to the day he died. I don't want to say it was bigger than the gold medal, but he loved the Olympics. There's no question.
Hey, I think you were at the perfect age, right? This peewee coach's jacket, cowboy hat in the locker room. Who was your favorite player on the 1980 team? Like if you had to have the jersey and you had to put the name on the back besides your dad's name, who did you maybe he was the nicest to you?
Good. Yeah, that's a good question. No one's really ever asked me that. So I would say, I was a defenseman, but I would say the first name would be Robbie McClanahan because he was from Moundsview. Right. And so, you guys know what it's like when you play youth hockey, what you think of your high school team. So I remember going to when Robbie was a senior at Moundsview in 1976, I was a mite or a peewee or a squirt and, seeing him play, I loved him as a Gopher. And so he was my favorite. One thing I remember when I first met Mike Garuzioni, and I think Karts and Kinger, I think I said this at our golf tournament last year. I remember when I first met him in the bowels of, the municipal rink in Colorado Springs during the National Sports Festival in 1979. I remember he came up and talked to me, and I didn't really know who he was, and how he was asking questions about myself, my hockey, my sports, my family, and I could really tell he was really genuine. He really was interested, and I'm like, God, these guys are trying out for the Olympic team. Here he's talking to a 12-year-old kid. But he was like, and I remember when he walked away, I'm like, God, that guy is unbelievable. What a great guy. And he turns out makes the team. He's the captain. So, I like Garuzioni. How do you not like, Neil Broughton? Seeing him play, for the Gophers, my dad's team the year prior, and seeing, him with the famous one-handed goal. Phil Vercotta was great. He was just a riot. Billy Baker, I loved. And then I wound up playing for John Harrington. Let me tell you, John Harrington to play for was not the same John Harrington you saw when he was joking.
That was an all-time comedy performance at the press conference. Right?
He was kind of a clown. Yeah, he was kind of a clown on that team. And I remember when the team was picked in Colorado Springs. Karts, did you play at the Broadmoor World Arena?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where the team got together for the first time. So I remember being, it's kind of in the back, those little small locker rooms, that's where the team was together for the first time. And I don't know if he posted the list, but I remember spending time with John Harrington, and he was kind of the clown jokester on that team.
Hey, before we let you go, tell us about the Herb Brooks Foundation. I always love seeing you guys state high school hockey tournament, giving out scholarships. How's all that going?
Yeah, it's going great. So we've got, just coming up here that, the foundation is, we're committed to, we support a lot of organizations. We used to run our own programs, but we're now a supporting organization. And what the flagship part of our foundation is the Herb Brooks Award. And now, so this is what, 2026. The first 4 winners of the Herb Brooks Award was back in 2004. So, Kinger, you went to Edina, do the math. I don't know how many Herb Brooks Award winners there have been, but, over 50, 60 almost. So that has become a huge thing for these young boys and girls to win that award. It's amazing to look back at some of these past winners, what they've, in 04, 5, 6, 7, what they've done in their life. They've all gone on to do great things. So we give money to them, to their association, and to some causes that they believe in. And because my dad loved high school hockey, he wanted to preserve high school hockey as much as he could. So very, very glad we're associated with that.
Where can listeners sign up to be a part of the Herb Brooks Foundation golf tournament?
Just herbrooksfoundation.com.
Awesome. Hey, I heard something. I want to know if this is true, and we'll let you go, but it's interesting. So basically 1960 inspires 1980. So there were a lot of guys, certainly the Boston guys, that were connected to the 60 Minnesotans on that team as well. 80 inspires kind of this World Cup team. Certainly Salt Lake had some of those guys on it that would have been inspired by 80. I heard that the famous cut in the Miracle team was, I think, Ralph. But I heard the other guy that got cut was Jack Hughes, who is, I believe, that's Jack and Quinn's father, right?
No.
Oh, God. I was like, this is all going to come full circle. I'm like, Quinn and Jack are going to win gold.
Kinger, I've got something for you that can fill that. So Billy Guerin and my dad have a special relationship. So Guerin was the last guy cut on the 92 team, and my dad was coaching the New Jersey Devils at the time. So before they went to the Olympics, the 92 team, he was cut. My dad picked Billy up at the airport. Was the first person that, Billy saw. And so, my dad kind of took him under his wing as a rookie for the Devils back in the day. And so they had a special relationship. And then Guerin played for my dad in 02. So yeah, Jack Hughes. And one last thing, about my dad, being somewhat switching gears, but talking about cuts. Another guy that got cut, and this kind of goes to how my dad didn't have favorites. It didn't matter if you were a gopher or whatnot. So one of his fiercest rivals back in the 70s was the Wisconsin Badgers and Bobby Suter. And so Bobby was, a leader of the Badgers and an unbelievable defenseman, but tough as nails. And those rivalries between the Badgers and the Gophers were legendary. And I remember when the team was picked, I remember my dad he cut Les Auger, was one of the first guys that made the team. Les was one of his first, it might be the first All-American my dad had at the university from St. Paul Johnson. No one loved Les Auger better than my dad. And my dad cut Les and kept Bobby Suter. And I'm like, Dad, you kept Bobby Suter? What are you doing? and then Bobby played that special role on the team, was a quiet leader and the ultimate team guy, but was dealing with a broken ankle, and that's why he didn't get a chance to play that much at the end.
We'll have to ask Billy about that and how it motivated him, because we had Taylor Heisey on the podcast a couple of weeks ago talking about it, and she had been cut from the last Olympics, and that was a big surprise too. But she says it was tough at the time. Hindsight's 2020, but it's one of the best things that ever happened to her because she's motivated. Things seem to have worked out for Billy G. I mean, GM Team USA right now as a favorite. So
I like this. Billy G connection. I know it wasn't Quinn and
Jack Hughes.
It wasn't Quinn and Jack's dad. I was like, God, it's happening again.
There was another. So then there's another Hughes who was the people thought this as well. The figure skater, the female figure skater that won the gold in 2010. Okay. She was a Hughes. Jack Hughes was a great player from Harvard, kind of a big, lanky defenseman, very, very similar to Kenny Morrow. But Bobby Suter. But my dad was, I always tell people of all his, especially after the Olympics, I think Bobby was kind of his favorite, off the ice after the Olympics, because those two were very, very similar.
Do you know what your dad did when he walked down that tunnel? Because did he cry? Did he? What happened?
I don't. He probably, dropped to his knees like the Kurt Russell character did. But you got to remember, he was still an employee of the University of Minnesota, so he didn't retire from the university until May of 1980. And you know what he did? Shortly after him, I'm sure breaking down and crying, he called his boss, Paul Giel, the athletic director of the University of Minnesota. So he and Paul Giel talked almost every day in Lake Placid. So Paul and my dad were very close. Paul Giel, legendary athlete from Minnesota, great athletic director. And that's what he did. He talked to Paul.
And said, hey, I'm going to be a couple of days late, but we're going to land on Air Force One. Hey, where did you sit on Air Force One?
I can't remember. It was all the Minnesota guys.
1A?
So Christoph and Strobel and, all these guys, from Minnesota. And I think they took, the Eastern guys had their own plane ride as well. But I can't remember. They're at the White House. I didn't go to that White House. We stayed in Lake Placid or in Albany. I can't really remember this. And then so Air Force One stopped in New York and picked up my mom and my sister and others, and then we flew back to Minnesota. But I've got a picture. So I got a picture of 5 of my teammates. Pat Fabian being one of them. I don't know if you guys know Fabes at all. So they came with a sign, all wearing their Mounds View A Pee-wee jacket. And they had a big sign that said, Mounds View A Pee-wees welcome Brooks and McClanahan. And my dad did a photo bomb. So it's all 5 of us and my dad in front of this sign.
That's awesome.
Well, hey, enjoy watching it. I'm sure when this comes around every 4 years, you must have fond memories of your dad and kind of. I hope you enjoy. I hope the U.S. makes another run here and we can.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. It's going to be fun. That's for sure. I can't wait to watch.
Well, thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure. And check out the Herb Brooks Foundation if you haven't already, folks.
Thanks, guys.